Welcome back. Happy Thursday. Here's a plan for today. We have our review day for our test. Our test is coming up on Tuesday. The day after our test, that is 1 week from today, I'm expecting a plan for the second project. I know that we just finished the first project, so we're moving forward. Second project, the plan is due 1 week from today. In terms of that second project, you will find a different list of suggested topics on page 46. So you don't need to look at it now. You should be focusing on studying for the test on Tuesday, but at some point in the next week, you should think about the topics that are listed here. Pick one, write up a plan, show me you're thinking about it a little bit, and that's due 1 week from today. Any questions on the calendar? Linda?
Yeah, the suggested topics, but don't follow the guidelines.
Yes. Yeah, the guidelines, I just copied them again here, but it's the same guidelines as from the first packet. I just repeated them there. Yeah.
Does that mean for the critical analysis, you need two sources?
You'll want two sources, at least two sources for any research paper. But if you are analyzing a study, that is the one source that you are just looking at and writing everything about. Okay. Okay. So that's that. One more thing before we talk about our test. Here is GCC's academic calendar, and there are just a couple of funny things coming up, so I want to point them out to you. If you were planning on withdrawing from a class, I hope you did it already, because the last day was Tuesday, a couple of days ago. Tomorrow, does anybody have Monday classes? Raise your hand if you have a Monday class. You go to it tomorrow. Tomorrow is a Monday, even though it's a Friday in the rest of the world. Tomorrow is a Monday for GCC, okay? So go to your Monday classes tomorrow if you have any. Anybody have a Friday evening class normally? Yes? No. Okay. Evening classes are canceled. The coming Monday is Patriots Day. As far as I know, we're the only state that celebrates a football team. I don't get it. I don't get it. Patriots Day, there are no day classes here at GCC. So do not go to your Monday classes on Monday. In fact, that's kind of why you're going to them tomorrow. Okay? However, does anybody have a Monday evening class? You go to your Monday evening class on Monday. Evening classes are on as scheduled. Any questions on the academic calendar? Okay. So if we go back to page 45, the last page of the packet, then, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. There was one thing that we finished, that we were going to finish from last time. Remember that game that we played? The game was craps, right? Okay, and if we eventually go back, we find some stuff that we talked about for craps. Yeah, we started to do this. I'll remind us of what we did because it was complicated. So remember, there were a few ways to win craps right off the bat. What's a really good number to roll on the first roll? 7 or 11. You win right away. What's a really bad number to roll on the first roll? 2 or 3 or 12. You lose right away. Any other number and the game continues. That other number is called the point. And we looked at this first highlighted diagonal here. Those were all the ways to get a 4. So for example, if you want to roll a 4 first, there were 3 different possible ways for you to do that. 3-1, 2-2, 1-3. And then if you've rolled the 4 first, what's the only way you're going to win that game in the future? Is to roll another 4 before you roll a 7. Because if you roll a 7, you lose. Right? If 4 is the point, you're trying to get another 4 before you get that dreaded 7. And so we talked about the probability of all that stuff happening, and we came up with this kind of funny way to think about the probability of getting a 4 before another 7. And it was 3/9, which is strange because there's 36 possibilities up above. We talked about that a little bit last time. And then in green here we said, if you want to get a 4 first, and then get another 4 before you get the 7, we should multiply those things. 336, that's the probability of getting a 4 on any roll, first roll, times 3/9, getting a second 4 before you get a 7. And you got about 2.7% chance of winning the game by doing a 4 and then another 4. And you could do this for every single one of the possible outcomes. You could look at the ways to get a 5. They are highlighted here in green. How many ways to get a 5? There are 4 ways to get a 5. They're all in green. So you could just say that this thing here at the bottom, this blue 336, becomes 436. 4 ways to get that 5, followed by, and then this fraction will change a little bit, trying to get a second 5 before you get a 7. And you can do that for every single possibility. I'm not going to write them all down here, but you could just do that calculation every time. You have a 2.7% chance of winning the game by getting a 4 and then another 4. You have a slightly better chance of getting a 5 and then another 5. I think Charlie had said the best chance was to do what?
Well, get a 7 or 11 over that.
Yeah, 7 or 11 would be great.
6 or...
Yeah, but getting a 6 is more likely than getting 2 6s is more likely than getting 2 4s. And so you'd have an even better chance of getting a 6 first and then another 6 later on. And what you could do is you could add all these different percentages up. 2.7% chance of getting the 4 and then another 4 plus slightly better number for getting a 5 and a 5. Still better to get a 6 and a 6. Getting a 7 right off the bat. You have 6 out of 36 ways to do that. That's fine. And you add all these guys up. And I'm just going to write down the answer. I'm not going to type it into a calculator, but if you do, you find that the sum of all these probabilities, that the probability that you win a single game of craps is about 49.3%. Okay, so is that good or bad for you, the player? That is bad because it's less than what magic number? 50. Is it really bad or is it only slightly bad? It is only slightly bad. And in terms of the house edge, that's the thing that keeps the casinos in money. This is as small of an advantage the casino has in any game they offer you. If you play blackjack, maybe you have like a 48% chance of winning. If you play roulette, maybe you have like a 44% chance of winning. Play the slots, maybe it's 45. Right, right. But I can tell you that this is the closest to even game you will find in a casino. So again, we're recording. I don't condone gambling. But if you insist on going to Atlantic City and you want to go there as a money-making venture, your best chance of winning money is to take every dollar you plan on gambling, play 1 round of craps, cross your fingers. You're going to win about half the time, slightly less than half the time. If you keep playing over and over again, that house edge will catch up to you. You're going to lose in the long run. If you play 1,000 games of craps, you'll win 49.3% of the time, roughly, and you'll lose 50.7%. You'll end up down. Play 1 time, put all your money in, walk out, go get the buffet or something. Okay, so that's craps. And the last thing I want to say before we talk about the test is I would like to know how we did as a class. You guys played a bunch of times 2 days ago. As a class, we won 144 times and we lost 146 times. That sounds reasonable. We won a little less than half of the time, which is what it should be. Can we actually get a percentage? If I wanted to know the probability that we won, not a theoretical, but like in this class 2 days ago, let's see, we need to count some stuff. Number of whats over number of whats. Number of wins over number of games. What do we think? We have a certain number of wins. We're going to divide by how many times we played. That will be our probability of winning. How many wins did we have? 144. How many games did we play? 290. Somebody with a calculator? 49.6%. The theoretical answer is 49.3%. Did we do better or worse as a class? A little bit better. You're not going to beat the long-term percentages if you play long-term, but that's real close to what it should have been. Questions on that? Okay, so again, if you go to Atlantic City, what game are you playing? Craps. Stay away from the slots. Stay away from blackjack. Definitely don't play poker. Play 1 round of craps, you walk away. All right, so let's jump to the last page of the packet. We'll talk generally about the test, and then you guys can spend most of the class just going over some sample test problems or studying however you wish. So we'll begin with number 1. Can we go to Zach? K? Oh, actually, sorry, number 2. I'm sorry, a lot of people are lost right now. Are we not on the last page? Very last page. Very last page. Okay, so Zach just read to us a little bit about weighted voting. I know it feels like it was forever ago, but this was after the first test. This is fair game on the next test. We had this notation stuff. Maybe we remember what it means. If not, we have to review. We had some words: dictator, veto power, dummies, and then the 2 power indices. You're going to see all of that stuff on the test: the Shapley-Shubik and the Bonds-Off power index. We'll go to Holly for statistics. Thank you. So in terms of all the studies stuff, what's going to happen is something similar to what you'll find in the sample test problems in this packet. I'll give you like a paragraph description of some clinical study, and I'll ask you, what is the control group? What is the treatment group? Is this a randomized study? Why or why not? Was it a blind study? Why or why not? And just ask you to maybe identify some possible sources of error. What might have gone wrong in this study? Do you believe the conclusions of this study? And there's no wrong answer to that. Just show me that you're thinking about these kinds of issues here. Okay, we'll go to Emma for counting. Okay, and so that was the last major theme of for this test, was all that stuff about counting and probability. Henry, number 3. Okay, so just to be clear, you have a lot of resources you are going to bring with you to this test. So if you go all the way to the first page of the packet, you will find our step-by-step process for doing the Bonds-Off power index. Now, I would encourage you to make sure you do some examples of this before you get to the test, because looking at this on the test might not make a whole lot of sense if you haven't done it recently. And I know a lot of us haven't done it recently. I have not done it recently. So I would make sure I did an example heading into the test. And on the next page is, again, step-by-steps for the Shapley-Shubik. And then the counting flowchart will help us with the counting and probability questions. So you're going to bring in those 2 pieces of paper, as well as a 3rd piece of paper with anything that you want on it, okay? So write down formulas or reference or definitions or theorems or problems worked all the way out, start to finish. Anything you want, 1 piece of paper, front and back. Okay, let's go to Phil. You have, in the middle of 3. Okay, thank you. We'll go to 4 with Donna. Okay, so I say there's questions of the day. There's not really. It says study, and then questions of the day, just that project plan. That's what I'm collecting from you next time we meet after the test, okay? So there's no homework, there's no reading, there's no nothing. Your first priority is to do what? Study. Your second priority, project plan, okay? Speaking about the projects, I handed back to a whole bunch of you guys your project, graded project, last class. So if I handed you a project back on Tuesday, you have 1 week to do a revision if you wish, which makes it due this coming Tuesday. I realize that's the same time as the test. You have to prioritize, I think a week is a good amount of time. For most of us, the revision is not that big of a deal. So if you have a revision you're planning on doing, I'd encourage you to kind of get it out of the way. So come Monday night, you're not split studying and fixing the first project, okay? All right, and then, so for the rest of today, I'll put the flags on the table and I'll walk around, but if you guys go back to page 42, go back to page 42, you will find the sample test problems. And I know I said this last time, but I want to just make very clear the resource that you guys have. If you, for example, type in, did I type it wrong? Sample test 2. If you type in 117 sample test 2 problem 3 on YouTube search engine, you will find a video of me going through that problem. And in fact, you can see there's a whole playlist here of me going through each of the problems, okay? All right, let's see. The first one, no views, no views, no views. No, all right, so I'm waiting on you guys. I'm feeling very bad that there are no views on my self-esteem. Oh, that's me. Okay. There is. I can't stop talking. I won't. Why won't I shut up? Okay. So anyway, no views. My
17
sample test 2, problem 3. I don't know if 117 sample test 2 will find it. 117 sample test 2, problem 3. We'll find that video, and it pulled up the whole. It pulled everything up there. Every one of the questions on this page and the pages that follow, all of the sample test problems. This took me a long time, and my self-esteem is low because my views are at 0, so I need you guys to perk me up a little bit, get me raising on the YouTube list. Yes, Justin.
And yeah, we can just find that if we have your account.
If you have my YouTube account, you'll find it there too. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on any of that before we dive into these problems? Okay, I'll walk around and take questions. Raise a flag if you get stuck. Don't feel like you need to start at number 1 and go in order. Pick around, work together, find a partner, beginning on page 42.